Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. In the Johnson edition, we turn out to poem 607 of Nearness to her Sundered Things. Sundered Things here will be referencing the dead loved ones who have already passed on. When this poem was first published, it was in the Atlantic Monthly of February 1929. In many ways, we're back to 467. You guys will maybe remember our study here. We do not play on graves because there isn't room. Besides, it isn't even. It slants and people come and put a flower on it and hang their faces. So we're fearing that their hearts will drop and crush our pretty play. And so we move as far as enemies away, just looking round to see how far it is occasionally. And then maybe as well, you'll be able to remember that we did 445. And it read like this. "'Twas just this time last year I died. I know I heard the corn when I was carried by the farms. It had the tassels on. I thought how yellow it would look when Richard went to mill, and then I wanted to get out, but something held my will. I thought just how red apples wedged the stupples joints between, and the carts stooping round the fields to take the pumpkins in. I wondered which would miss me least, and when Thanksgiving came, if Father multiplied the plates to make an even sum. And would it blur the Christmas glee, my stocking hang too high, for any Santa Claus to reach the altitude of me? But this sort grieved myself, and so I thought the other way, how just this time, some perfect year, themselves should come to me." Now, our assumptions that you've been reading our stuff along with us at learnstrong.net, Chats with Emily, again, our playlist. Hopefully you've worked through a set of introductory comments in the preceding 606 poems. We just finished with 606, The Trees Like Tassels. Now, one scholar has called this poem Memory's Form of Resurrection. And in many ways, I think Dante stands behind this poem. The idea that for Dante, that the dead are waiting and watching. She'll say it this way. "Of nearness to her sundered things, the soul has special times, when dimness looks the oddity, distinctness easy seems. The shapes we bury dwell about, familiar in the rooms, untarnished by the sepulchre, the moldering playmate comes. In just the jacket that he wore, long buttoned in the mold. Since we old morning's children played divided by a world, the grave yields back her robberies, the years are pilfered things, bright knots of apparitions salute us with their wings. As we it were that perished, themselves had just remained, till we rejoin them, and 'twas they, and not ourselves, that mourned." Notice we move to this monometer at the very end of the poem with that mourn. It's quite brilliant. She'll begin by talking of the nearness of her sundered things. Of course, this will be the shapes we buried. In other words, the dead ones that have already passed on. The soul has special times. Notice we go from the soul, singular, to we, plural. When dimness looks the oddity, again, the power of memory. Distinctness, easy seems. Notice the use of the dashes between those three words. The shapes we buried dwell about. Again, this reminds us of Dante in our study of, we've given full lectures of the full Divine Commedia at learnstrong.net. Familiar in the rooms, untarnished by the sepulchre. I love this use of the word rooms because it can be the rooms that Emily's thinking of, that she lives in, or it can be the rooms of the dead themselves. Think about Grace Elegy in a churchyard. "Though narrow cell forever lays, forever laid." The idea that the grave is a room itself, untarnished by the sepulchre. The moldering playmate comes. You'll remember moldering from 371. She uses playmate in 6 of her poems. And then the memory arrives. In just the jacket that he wore. Notice here the flicker dance, one scholar has called it, between the memory of the playmate and the corpse. In just the jacket that he wore. Long buttoned in the mold. What a brilliant way to say it, as the disintegration will happen after burial. Since we, dash, old mornings, comma, children, capitalized, dash, played, and then we're back to that poem I read you of 467. Divided by a world, right? Makes sense. The grave yields back her robberies. Now, you'll remember robberies from 289. Think about the passage from 1 Thessalonians 5:2 of death as a thief in the night, robbing, the thief robbing. The years are pilfered things, right? Notice capitalized things. Bright knots of apparitions. We read this line, we of course immediately think of our study of Hamlet. One scholar has pointed out that Henry Vaughan's The Retreat will call it bright shoots of everlastingness. salute us with their wings, of course, angelic referencing here, as we dash it were dash that perished themselves. Notice we go from this self to ourself. Had just remained till we rejoined them. I think rejoin is the key word of this poem. And 'twas they, and not ourselves, that mourned. In other words, here you have, just like in poem 445, as we said, a dead person waiting for his living friends to join him. What a brilliant poem. What is the message here? I think at 2:8, the memories of those we love who have passed are precious. At 2b, well, again, the movement, the flicker movement from this to that to this is brilliant in this poem. We think again of Hamlet and the dance with death, as we called it in our lectures on Hamlet at learnstrong.net, and of course Dante. I like to think of T.S. Eliot's hollow men, though, those who have crossed with direct eyes to the other side. Remember us, if at all, not as lost violent souls, but only as the hollow men, the stuffed men. There's, for Dante, for Emily, for T.S. Eliot, there's somebody watching on the other side, which obviously can lead to a 3B question. Who do you imagine, if you do imagine it, is watching you from the other side? And is it possibly Emily? Maybe. Thank you.